The 16th session of the Senate and the 3rd regular session of the 17th Congress is hereby called to order. Senator Grace Poe will lead the chamber in prayer.
Sa ngalan ng Ama, ng Anak, ng Espiritu Santo. Amen. Panginoon, dalangin po namin sa inyo sa araw na ito. Naway mangibabaw ang katotohanan at umiral ang katarungan. Bigyan mo po ng pag-asa ang mga ginigipit at naaapi. Palakasin mo po ang tinig ng mga pinatatahimik. Palawakin mo po ang abot ng kasaganahan. Busugin mo po ang mga nagugutom sa kanin mula sa bigas na walang bukbok at galunggong na walang formalin. Bilang mga tao, palalimin mo po ang aming pangunawa at malasakit sa kapwa. Bilang isang institusyon, patibayin mo po ang aming paninindigan at gabayan at protektahan niyo po ang aming mga kasamahan, lalong-lalo na ang mga dumadaan ngayon ng pagsubok. Ipaalala mo po lagi sa amin na naririto kaming lahat para maglingkod sa bayan. Dalisayan mo ang bawat naming hangarin at hakbang. Amen. Sa ngalan ng Anak, ng Espiritu Santo. Amen.
The Secretary will please call the roll.
Roll call of members. The Honorable Senators Angara, Aquino, Binay, De Lima, Drilon, Ejercito, Escudero, Gatchalian, Gordon, Onasan, Ontiveros, Lacson, Legarda, Pacquiao, Pangilinan, Pimentel, Poe, Recto, Trillanes, Villanueva, Villar, Zubiri, Senate President Soto III.
With 15 senators present, the chair declares the presence of a quorum. The Majority Leader.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that we dispense with the reading of the Journal of the 15th Session, Tuesday, September 4, 2018, and consider the same as approved.
Any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is approved.
Mr. President, I move that we proceed with the reference of business.
The Secretary will proceed with the reference of business.
Reference of business. Messages from the House of Representatives. Letter from the House of Representatives informing the Senate that on 29 August 2018, it passed the following House bills, House Joint Resolution, in which it requests the concurrence of the Senate. House number 7857 entitled, An Act Providing for the Establishment of a Timbangan ng Bayan Center in all markets nationwide, amending for the purpose Chapter 2 of Republic Act number 7394, otherwise known as the Consumer Act of the Philippines.
Referred to the Committees on Trade, Commerce and Entrepreneurship, Local Government and Finance.
House number 6770 entitled, An Act Increasing the Service Incentive Leave of Employees, amending for the purpose Article 95 of Presidential Decree number 442 as amended, otherwise known as the Labor Code of the Philippines.
Referred to the Committee on Labor, Employment and Human Resources Development.
House number 7773 entitled, An Act Institutionalizing the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino Program for Peace to Reduce Poverty and Promote Human Capital Development and Providing Funds Therefor.
Referred to the Committees on Social Justice, Welfare and Rural Development and Finance.
House number 7871 entitled, An Act Declaring the City of Davao a Mining-Free Zone and Providing Penalties Therefor.
Referred to the Committee on Environment.
House number 7891 entitled, An Act Providing for the Establishment of a Manpower, Livelihood and Skills Development Center in the Municipality of Dapa, Siargao Island, Province of Surigao del Norte, to be known as the Siargao-Surigao del Norte Test Training Center and appropriating funds therefor.
Referred to the Committees on Education, Arts and Culture, Labor and Finance.
House number 7978 entitled, An Act Providing for the Establishment of a Technical Education and Skills Development Authority TESDA Training and Accreditation Center in Barangay Kamanmaan, Cagayan de Oro City, to be known as the Cagayan de Oro City TESDA Training and Accreditation Center and appropriating funds therefor.
Referred to the Committees on Education, Arts and Culture, Labor and Finance.
House number 8055 entitled, An Act Dividing the Province of Palawan into 3 provinces, namely Palawan del Norte, Palawan Oriental, and Palawan del Sur.
referred to the Committees on Local Government and Electoral Reforms.
House Number 7979, entitled, An Act Providing for the Establishment of a Technical Education and Skills Development Authority, TESDA Training and Accreditation Center in the City of Antipolo, Province of Rizal, to be known as the Antipolo City TESDA Training and Accreditation Center, and appropriating funds therefor.
Referred to the Committees on Education, Labor, and Finance.
House Number 7811, entitled, An Act Establishing a Specialty Hospital in the City of San Jose del Monte, Province of Bulacan, to be known as St. Bernadette Children and Maternity Hospital, and appropriating funds therefor.
Referred to the Committees on Health and Demography and Finance.
House Number 7812, entitled, An Act Increasing the Bed Capacity of Mariano Marcos Memorial Hospital and Medical Center, MMMH and MC, in Batac City, Province of Ilocos Norte, from 200 to 700, upgrading its service facilities and professional health care, authorizing the increase of its medical personnel, and appropriating funds therefor.
Referred to the Committees on Health and Finance.
House Number 7846, entitled, An Act Providing for the Construction of an Undersea Tunnel or Bridge from Cebu City to the Municipality of Cordova and a Coastal Road Expressway to the Mactan Cebu International Airport, and appropriating funds therefor.
Referred to the Committees on Public Works and Finance.
House Number 7848, entitled, An Act Providing for the Construction of Service Roads Connecting the Valenzuela-Malinta-Maykawayan Interchange to the Maykawayan-Marilao Interchange, parallel to the North Luzon Expressway, and appropriating funds therefor.
Referred to the Committees on Public Works and Finance.
House Number 7881, entitled, An Act Declaring Verde Island Passage a Marine Protected Area, MPA, and Ecotourism Zone, and appropriating funds therefor.
Referred to the Committees on Environment, Tourism, and Finance.
House Number 8006, entitled, An Act Converting the Oroquieta Agri-Industrial School, OAIS, in the City of Oroquieta, Province of Misamis Occidental, into a state college to be known as the Misamis Occidental State College, MOSC, repealing for the purpose Republic Act Number 4941, and appropriating funds therefor.
Referred to the Committees on Education and Finance.
House Number 8069, entitled, An Act Establishing a Multi-Species Marine Hatchery in Barangay Binduyan, City of Puerto Princesa, Province of Palawan, and appropriating funds therefor.
Referred to the Committees on Agriculture and Finance.
House Number 8070, entitled, An Act Establishing a Multi-Species Marine Hatchery in the Municipality of Pio Duran, Province of Albay, and appropriating funds therefor.
Referred to the Committees on Agriculture and Finance.
House Number 8071, entitled, An Act Establishing a Multi-Species Marine Hatchery in the Municipality of Owas, Province of Albay, and appropriating funds therefor.
Referred to the Committees on Agriculture and Finance.
And House Joint Resolution Number 26, entitled, Joint Resolution Extending the Period of Availability of Funds Intended for Victims of Human Rights Violations during the Marcos Regime until December 31, 2019, authorizing the Bureau of Treasury and the Land Bank of the Philippines to release the funds and ensure the payment of claims, and the Commission on Human Rights to administer the effective distribution of the funds to qualified victims or their heirs or representatives as provided under Republic Act Number 10368, otherwise known as the Human Rights Victims Reparation and Recognition Act of 2013 as amended by Republic Act Number 10766.
Referred to the Committees on Justice and Human Rights and Finance.
Letter from the House of Representatives informing the Senate that on 29 August 2018, it ratified the Conference Committee report on the disagreeing provisions of House Number 5745, entitled, An Act Establishing the Coconut Farmers and Industry Development Trust Fund and providing for its management and utilization, and Senate Number 1233, entitled, An Act Creating the Coconut Farmers and Industry Trust Fund, providing for its management and utilization and for other purposes.
To the archives.
Letters from the House of Representatives informing the Senate that on 29 August 2018, it ratified the Conference Committee report on the disagreeing votes of the following House bills. House Number 6202, entitled, An Act Establishing the South Cotabato State College in the Municipality of Suralia, Province of South Cotabato, integrating therewith the Suralia National Agricultural School located in the Municipality of Suralia, and appropriating funds therefor. House Number 5635, entitled, An Act Extending for another 25 years the franchise granted to Bright Star Broadcasting Network Corporation under Republic Act Number 72995 entitled An Act Granting the Bright Star Broadcasting Network Corporation a franchise to construct, install, operate, and maintain for commercial purposes radio and television broadcasting stations in the Philippines and for other purposes. House Number 5716 entitled An Act Extending for Another 25 Years the franchise granted to Vanguard Radio Network Company, Inc. under Republic Act Number 7529 entitled An Act Granting Vanguard Radio Network Company, Inc. a franchise to construct, install, operate, and maintain radio and television broadcasting stations in the island of Luzon and for other purposes as amended by Republic Act Number 8069. House Number 6314 entitled An Act Granting Streamtech Systems Technologies, Inc. a franchise to construct, install, establish, operate, and maintain telecommunication systems throughout the Philippines. House Number 4136 entitled An Act Renewing for Another 25 Years the franchise granted to Manila Broadcasting Company under Republic Act Number 7816 entitled An Act Granting the Manila Broadcasting Company a franchise to construct, install, operate, and maintain radio and television broadcasting stations within the Philippines and for other purposes. And House Number 5349 entitled An Act Renewing for Another 25 Years the franchise granted to Notre Dame Broadcasting Corporation under Republic Act Number 8109 entitled An Act Granting the Notre Dame Broadcasting Corporation a franchise to construct, install, operate, and maintain radio broadcasting stations in the Philippines for religious, educational, and cultural as well as for commercial purposes.
To the archives. There is additional reference of business.
Additional reference of business, messages from the House of Representatives, letter from the House of Representatives informing the Senate that on 3 September 2018, it designated Representatives Ting, Villafuerte Jr., Tugna, Almario, and Bertis III as conferees to the Bicameral Conference Committee on the disagreeing provisions of House Number 7402 entitled An Act Promoting Telecommuting as an Alternative Work Arrangement for Employees in the Private Sector, and Senate Number 1363 entitled An Act Institutionalizing Telecommuting in the Workplace and for Other Purposes.
Referred to the Committee on Rules.
Letter from the House of Representatives informing the Senate that on 3 September 2018, it concurred with the Senate amendments to House Number 990 entitled An Act Separating the City of Calamba from the 2nd Legislative District of the Province of Laguna to constitute the lone Legislative District of the City of Calamba.
To the archives.
Bills on first reading. Senate Number 1977 entitled An Act Amending the National Commission on Indigenous Peoples to provide transportation, food, and non-monetary assistance to indigent litigants who are members of the indigenous cultural communities while in attendance of hearings or proceedings in the NCIP, introduced by Senator Maria Lourdes Nancy S. Binay.
Referred to the committees on Cultural Communities and Finance.
Senate Number 1978 entitled An Act Clarifying the Scope of Derivative Works, amending for the purpose Section 173.1A of Republic Act 8293 or the Philippine Intellectual Property Code, introduced by Senator Maria Lourdes Nancy S. Binay.
Referred to the Committee on Trade, Commerce, and Entrepreneurship.
Resolutions. PS Resolution Number 874 entitled Resolution Directing the Proper Senate Committees to Conduct an Inquiry in Aid of Legislation on the reports that the estimated 5 million Filipino children with disabilities are the most vulnerable to calamities or emergency incidents in the country, introduced by Senator Maria Lourdes Nancy S. Binay.
Referred to the Committees on Women, National Defense.
PS Resolution Number 875 entitled Resolution Directing the Proper Senate Committees to Conduct an Inquiry in Aid of Legislation on the Waste Management Guidelines set by the Department of Health, introduced by Senator Maria Lourdes Nancy S. Binay.
Referred to the Committee on Health and the Committee on Environment.
Committee Report. Committee Report Number 433 prepared and submitted jointly by the Committees on Agriculture and Food and Finance on Senate Number 1976 with Senator Villar as author thereof, entitled An Act to Further Strengthen the Philippine Coconut Authority, PCA, repealing PD Number 1468, otherwise known as the Revised Coconut Industry Code of 1978 as amended, recommending its approval in substitution of Senate Number 1913, sponsor Senator Cynthia A. Villar.
To the calendar for ordinary business. The Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, with the permission of the body, I move that we consider proposed Senate Resolution number 296. Before we do that, Mr. President, allow me to just acknowledge some guests in the gallery. We have with us Mayor Hadar Hajiri of Lugos, Sulu Province, and together with Councilor Lahara of Calamba, Laguna, and Barangay Captain Aigat Lahara of Barangay Makiling, Calamba, Laguna.
Welcome to our guests.
Thank you, Mr.
Welcome,
President.
Mr.
I move for the previous motion to consider proposed resolution number 296. I so moved.
Any objection? There being none, PS Resolution 296 consideration is in order.
May we request the Secretary to read the title?
We
Mr.
ask the Secretary to read the title of the measure.
Senate Resolution number 296, resolution congratulating and commending Maunlad Canning Corporation, the manufacturer of Youngstown sardines, for winning the International Food and Beverage Quality Award in Madrid, Spain.
Mr. President, the measures now in the period of sponsorship, may we ask to recognize Senator Nancy Binay to sponsor the measure.
Senator Maria Lourdes Nancy Binay is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I filed Senate Resolution number 296 in recognition of the hard work, pride, and honor that Maunlad Canning Corporation has given to the country. Isang karangalan para sa akin ang bigyang pugay ngayong hapon ang isang tunay na kumpanyang may pusong Pilipino. A Filipino brand that stood the test of time because of its dedication to the quality and taste of its products and its devotion to its employees and customers. For 2 consecutive years, years 2016 and 2017, Maunlad Canning Corporation, the manufacturer of Youngstown sardines and other canned goods, has brought pride to the country for being a recipient of the International Food and Beverages Quality Awards, which was held last year at the Hotel Melia Castilla in Madrid, Spain. This prestigious award was given by the International Business Group Global Trade Leaders Club to recognize businesses worldwide for product excellence and their contribution to their respective countries' development. The Global Trade Leaders Club is composed of more than 7,500 members from 95 countries with the primary objective of promoting trade and professional relations among businesses from all over the world. Only companies which are recommended by a club member can be part of the screening process. Once nominated, the company has to undergo a stringent selection process. About 15 SMEs were awarded with the International Food and Beverages Quality Award, and Maunlad Canning Corporation was the only Filipino company to receive the award in 2017. Ako ay lubos na humahanga kung paano nagawa ng pamilya ni Ginang Lapas Kaungo na palaguin ang kanilang simpleng negosyo sa pamamagitan lamang ng tiyaga, pagmamalasakit sa kanilang mga empleyado, at pagiging tapat sa kanilang paggawa ng sardinas. They started the company under the name of Earldon Enterprises in 1968 after borrowing money from neighbors. Through hard work and dedication, they built their first factory in Malabon in 1988, producing Youngstown sardines for the C&D market. Today, Maunlad Canning Corporation have 4 factories and over 2,000 employees, the latest of which is a factory in Zamboanga aimed to supply the market demand in Mindanao. The Youngstown brand has also expanded and is now offering other products aside from sardines. Some of their products include mackerel, corned beef, meatloaf, and calamares. But more impressively, in this modern era where machines can take over the jobs of people, Mrs. Ngo said she prefers the hard work and malasakit of her employees. She honestly shared that their factories may not be state-of-the-art, but the processes they do are efficient, her employees hold the line, and they are able to deliver the demands of the market. Mrs. Ngo said that she already considers her employees as family and that the company already has third-generation workers who are grandchildren of the original employees. This devotion is reflected in the quality of their canned goods, and this is why Youngstown remains to be one of the loved Filipino brands in the country. Mrs. Ngo is very proud that to this day, they have consistently produced the same quality of sardines that Filipinos have come to enjoy over the years. Accordingly, Maunlad Canning Corporation deserves to be commended for being a source of great pride and inspiration to the Filipino people. Mabuhay po kayo. Maraming salamat po, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Binay. The Majority Leader.
Okay. If there's another one significant, then we'll record. Thank you, Mr. President. There being no member to register to interpolate, Mr. President, we close the period of interpolation of the measure.
Any objection? There being none, period of interpolation is closed.
There being no amendments as well, we close the period of amendments of this measure, Mr. President.
Any objection? There being none, period of amendments closed.
Mr. President, I move that we adopt proposed Senate Resolution number 296. I so move, Mr. President. And before that, to ask, with the permission of those members present, be made as co-sponsors of the
We
measure.
place that on record.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so move for its adoption.
Any objection? There being none, PS Resolution 296 is adopted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, may I ask for a 1-minute suspension to
Yes,
call for
session
the
is suspended.
sponsors on the floor.
Congratulations for congratulations.
Frank, did Tito Boy invite you to the dinner tonight? Are you going?
Pwede ba ako i-dagdag sa sponsor ko kayo?
Next week na.
Dali lang ito, babasahin ko lang ito. Yung Coco Levy. Coco Levy, reconstitution of the PCA. Babasahin ko lang ito.
Ano?
I reconsider it, boss. We can put in the... We'll do it right now, sir. Okay. Ako, mahapon pa naman. Sige, ayusin ko na. Kala ko kasi, yeah, Lunes, okay pa rin. Third reading pa rin sa Lunes. Saan na ba yun? I just need to know the... You have a copy of the bill? Ready to resume, Mr. President.
Session is resumed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, there's just a few, just two amendments missing in the boxing commission created by Senator Manny Pacquiao. And so I move for the reconsideration with the permission of the good gentleman from General Santos and Sarangani, as well as the minority floor leader, with the permission of the body. We move to reconsider Senate Bill number 1306. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objections? There being none, the second reading passage of Senate Bill 1306 is hereby reconsidered.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I move also for to open the period of amendments? I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? There being none, period of amendments for Senate Bill 1306 is open.
Thank you, Mr. President. We'd like to recognize the sponsor, Senator Manny Emmanuel Pacquiao, to give the additional last amendments, Mr. President. Or we recognize the minority floor leader instead.
So we recognize the sponsor, and then, of course, we recognize the minority leader, Senator Frank Dillon.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. We have discussed this with the principal sponsor, Senator Pacquiao, because there were very slight typographical errors in the second reading copy that we approved. And therefore, with the permission of the chamber, we would like to propose two amendments to Senate Bill 1306. And it is as follows. On page 1, Mr. President, page 1, line 3, instead of 2017, it should read 2018 for obvious reasons. We so move, Mr. Chairman.
Accept, Mr. President.
The sponsor accepts. Any objection? There being none, amendment is adopted.
The second amendment is on page 13, Mr. President. Page 13, line 14. After the word boxers, insert the following: boxers and combatants, in order that it will be applicable to both professional boxers and combatants.
What does the sponsor say?
I accept, Mr. President.
Accepted. Any objection? There being none, amendment is adopted.
There are no more amendments, Mr. President.
Majority Leader.
Thank you. There being no amendments, both individual and committee amendments, we move to close the period of amendments, Mr. President.
Any objection? There being none, period of amendments hereby closed.
Mr. President, we move to approve on second reading Senate Bill number 1306. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Chair hears none. Senate Bill 1306 is approved on second reading.
Thank you, Mr. President. And we assure the good sponsor that Monday we will be able to take this up for third reading. So there will be no delay in this third reading approval. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move to suspend consideration of the said measure.
Any objection? There being none, consideration of the measure is suspended.
While we are waiting for our Tita Ganda of the Senate to sponsor the supplemental budget of the DOH, for the meantime, with the permission of the body, may we move to consider House Bill number 5689. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? There being none, House Bill 5689's consideration is in order.
And to sponsor the measure is Senator Sani Angara for interpellations, Mr. President.
We are in the period of interpellation. Senator Sani Angara is recognized.
Walang mag-interpellate. Mr. President, there being no members to interpolate the said measure, the local measure, this is the Araw ng Agusan del Norte Charter Day. I move to close the period of interpolation.
Any objection? There being none, period of interpolation is hereby closed.
Mr. President, I move to open the period of amendments.
Any objection? There being none, period of amendments open.
Any amendments?
No amendments, Mr. President.
Mr. President, there being no amendments, we move to close the period of amendments.
No objection, the period of amendments is hereby closed.
Mr. President, I move to approve on second reading House Bill number 5689.
Any objection? Chair hears none. House Bill 5689 is approved on second reading.
Mr. President, I move to suspend consideration of the same.
Any objection? There being none, consideration of the measure is suspended.
Mr. President, I move to consider House Bill number 6689 under Committee Report number 364.
Any objection? There being none, House Bill 6689's consideration is in order.
This is the declaring June 17 a non-working holiday for the province of Agusan del Sur. May we recognize the sponsor, Mr. President, Senator Sonny Angara.
Senator Sonny Angara is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Majority Leader, no interpolations.
No member is registered, Mr. President, to interpolate. I move, therefore, to close the period of interpolation.
Any objection? There being none, period of interpolation is hereby closed.
Any amendments? We move to open the period of amendments, Mr. President.
Period of amendments hereby open.
And no amendments, Mr. President.
There being no amendments, Mr. President, I move to close the period of amendments.
Any objection? There being none, period of amendments hereby closed.
Mr. President, I move to approve on second reading House Bill number 6689. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Chair hears none. House Bill 6689 is approved on second reading.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move to suspend consideration of the same measure.
Consideration of the measure is hereby suspended.
Mr. President, I move to consider House Bill number 5258. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? There being none, House Bill 5258's consideration is in order.
We now recognize the sponsor, Senator Sonny Angara, to sponsor the measure.
Senator Sonny Angara is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. No interpolations.
There are no interpolations.
I move to close the period of interpolations, Mr. President.
Any objection? There being none, period of interpolations is hereby closed.
Mr. President, there being no amendments, are there amendments?
No amendments, Your Honor.
We move to close as well the period of amendments.
Any objection? There being none, period of amendments hereby closed.
Mr. President, move to approve on second reading House Bill number 5258.
Any objection? Chair hears none. House Bill 5258 is approved on second reading.
Move to suspend consideration of the same, Mr. President.
Consideration of the measure is hereby suspended.
Mr. President, I move to consider House Bill number 7044. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? There being none, House Bill 7044's consideration is in order.
Mr. President, I move to recognize Senator Sonny Angara.
Senator Sonny Angara is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. No interpolations.
Mr. President, there being no interpolations, we move to close the period of interpolation.
Before we do so, we recognize the minority leader.
We have an amendment, boss. We have an amendment.
Yeah, you are in the period of interpolation.
Yes, sir, Mr. President.
We recognize the minority leader.
Mr. President, will the gentleman sponsor yield to just one question?
Certainly to the distinguished Minority Leader, former Senate President Gilon.
Mr. President, under Republic Act 7744, October 19 is also declared a special non-working holiday. The present bill declares June 18 as a special non-working holiday, also for the same purpose. May we know now what happens to Republic Act 7724?
It will be repealed, Your Honor.
It will be repealed. Therefore, there will only be one holiday, June 18, June 18 of every year, to celebrate the Bacolod City Charter Day.
That's correct. The gentleman is correct, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. We have no more questions.
Thank you, Your Honor.
What happened to the other camp?
I have a proposal.
We have
Mr.
a win-win because of
We have a win-win solution.
the
Mr.
skills of the majority leader, Mr. President, have come into play.
Thank you,
All
thank
right,
you.
so we are still in the period of interpolation.
Yes, Mr. President. Maybe we could close the period of interpolation so that I
Hmm.
can propose my amendment and explain my amendment, Mr. President. So we move to close the period of interpolation.
Any objection? There being none, the period of interpolation is hereby closed.
Thank you, Mr. President. We move to open the period of amendments.
Any objection? There being none, the period of amendments is open.
With the permission of the body, allow me to explain, Mr. President, I have proposed amendments. Bacolod City and Negros being the province of my paternal family of the Zubiris. And we are very close to the city and the province of Negros Occidental and the city of Bacolod. And therefore, we took it upon ourselves to come up with the Secretariat of Senator Angara and the good senator, a proposed win-win solution. What had happened, Mr. President, is the incumbent congressman and the city mayor, together with the whole council, actually except for 2 members of the council, voted to recognize the Charter Day of Bacolod to be the day of signing when the law was signed by President Manuel L. Quezon. Senator Frank Dillon has actually even assisted us in saying that there has been legal precedence of this. The Supreme Court has already actually come out with a ruling on Dagupan City, where Dagupan City, in the case of Dagupan City, the day of the signing of the law was the day of the charter, which is recognized by the Supreme Court. And this is what the city of Bacolod and the Congressional District of Bacolod would like to recognize. However, the other camp, sir, who's also a friend of ours, the other political camp, also friends of ours, are worried that we might lose the significance of the October festivals. But
Mascara.
yung Mascara po. But in actuality, sir, the Mascara Festival, Your Honors, is not a celebration of the charter or the birth of Bacolod City. The celebration of the Mascara Festival, as my co-Kasimanwa of Region 6 knows, was really to come up with an alternative to the depression at that time. It is the time when the famous boat had Doña Paz. Was it Doña Paz that had sunk? And then almost all the passengers there were from Bacolod City. This is also the time when the prices of the sugar was the lowest ever in the early 80s. And so they came up with the idea of having the Mascara Festival, wearing masks of smiling people, and making a colorful festival out of that to uplift the spirit of the Bacolodnons and Negrenses at that time, Your Honor. So it is similar to Bukidnon, and I'd like to put this on record. We just celebrated, sir, our September 104th Charter Day last week, last Saturday, sir, September 1. And we celebrate the Kaamulan of Bukidnon, sir, the province of Bukidnon. 104th birthday. But yet we celebrate the Kaamulan Festival on March. It's the second Sunday of March is our Kaamulan Festival. So, hindi naman, pwede naman po that you can celebrate the Charter Day and of course the Fiesta or Festival on another occasion. But to come up with a win-win solution, we are making a proposed amendment recognizing all these dates. And if I may, Mr. President, be allowed to propose the amendment. My proposed amendment to House Bill number 7044, on the title, we changed the title.
Do you have an amendment in the
Yes, sir.
body? In the body?
In the body, sir, in the body.
Then
My apologies.
I suggest you proceed with
Yes.
the body first.
On page 1, line 6, after the word Bacolod, we insert the following provisos. Provided, that the inauguration of the city of Bacolod shall be commemorated every 19th of October. So it still commemorates that period, Mr. President. Provided further that the highlights of the Mascara Festival shall be held every 4th Sunday of October, period. So the amendment would read, Mr. President, if I may have the copy of the bill.
The bill?
Yeah. So that for clarity, Mr. President, Section 1 will read, June 18 of every year is hereby declared a special non-working holiday for the city of Bacolod. June 18. Province of Negros Occidental to be known as the Bacolod City Charter Day, in commemoration of the day President Manuel L. Quezon signed and approved into effect Commonwealth Act number 326, creating the city of Bacolod, period. Provided, that the inauguration of the city of Bacolod shall be commemorated every 19th of October, provided further that the highlights of the Mascara Festival shall be held every fourth Sunday of October. I so move, Mr. President.
What does the sponsor say?
I think Senator Drilon has a question, so before I will accept with such a brilliant explanation by the Majority Leader, Mr. President.
Right. The Minority Leader, Senator Drilon, is recognized.
So just before I ask the question, I asked previously during the period of interpellation what happens to Republic Act 7724, which declares October 19 also as a special non-working holiday. I assume the appropriate amendment will reflect the response, which is that Republic Act 7724 will be repealed. Will be repealed.
That's correct.
That's correct.
That's correct.
That's correct.
And therefore, it is no longer a holiday.
That's right, Mr. President.
It's no longer a holiday.
Yes.
We just commemorate.
Yes.
Now,
But it falls on a Sunday because it's the fourth Sunday anyway.
no, it's the...
That's
I
the
don't-
mascara,
Sunday,
Mr.
the
President.
It is the mascara,
That's
sir.
the mascara.
It's mascara.
He's asking about the
19th of
inauguration that
October.
All right.
October 19.
But what, okay, having said that, Mr. President, what is the relevance of mascara in this bill? Why should we mention mascara?
The reason why, Mr. President, is
This
the
is
other
the
camp.
Foundation Day,
Yes.
and the mascara appears to have nothing to do with the Foundation Day. We understand it is on the, it falls on a Sunday, it is a non-working day, and we just for the record hear a justification
Yes, yes.
from the sponsor as to the
Ako na lang, sponsor.
validity of including mascara in the bill.
Yes, Mr. President, we'd like to beg our good minority floor leader to allow that leeway because the other side is claiming, one group is claiming that now that we do it if the date is on June 18, what will happen to mascara? They're saying that mascara will no longer be commemorated or celebrated. So as a win-win solution, we said that we could mention this in the law, that the mascara shall be held. Besides, by the way, sir, there is already a city ordinance which really declares every fourth Sunday of October. But just to allay fears, a simple amendment such as this would go a long way for our Bacolodnons not to worry about losing Mascara Festival in October.
Yeah, precisely mascara is already declared by the City Council by resolution to be commemorated on every fourth
Fourth
Sunday
Sunday
of
of
October.
October, sir.
Sunday of October. That's why I raised this issue, but I am willing to
With the indulgence of the two gentlemen on the floor, who have the floor, Mr. President, if I may interject.
Senator,
we have the floor. We're just
Yeah.
on the floor. with
It's
your
because
permission.
the Republic Act being repealed, 7724, which is an act declaring October 19 of every year a special non-working public holiday in the city of Bacolod to be known as Bacolod City Charter. That's the law we are repealing. It has section 1 which reads, October 19 is the Charter Day anniversary of the city of Bacolod, and its celebration is highlighted with the staging of the now famous Mascara Festival. So the law we repeals already mentions the Mascara Festival. And now we're just clarifying, and we're also mentioning the Mascara
what law is
Festival.
that?
That's Republic Act 7724, Mr. President.
When was that passed?
May 19, 1994, when the Bacolodnons were depressed. But I must say, for the record, that because Senator Drilon and Senator Zubiri were not yet senators, that's why maybe they were depressed, Mr. President.
I feel... No, but I feel...
alluded to.
No. I feel somewhat saddened by the inclusion of an adjective in a law. Why did they call it now famous? It should have been just the Mascara Festival. I'm
But
sorry.
we don't have that in our new amendment
Yeah,
proposed
very
by
good, very good.
the majority leader, Mr. President.
Well, we're partly to blame then because I was part of that Congress that passed that. That's why I'm saddened, as I said. No? I should have noticed that. But I was a greenhorn during that time, so perhaps it escaped me.
Yes, we are satisfied with the answer of the sponsor, Mr. President.
Thank
And
you.
we have no
All
more
right.
questions.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, so the amendment is accepted?
Yes, Mr. President.
Accepted. Any objection? The chair is none. Amendment is adopted. Now, before you go to the title, just curiosity. How old then is Bacolod City?
Wow. Good question.
What
Mr.
year?
President.
What year did Manuel Quezon sign
80
it?
years, Mr. President.
June 18,
1938.
1938.
That's
80 years.
80 years.
80 years.
Old.
But if you really count it, you are commemorating it, and therefore it is 81 years already. Yes, because it's not an anniversary. An anniversary is 1 year after.
So it's the 81st commemoration.
They should have celebrated the 80th year last year.
That's right.
If commemoration, because the commemoration is the date it is signed.
That's right.
Therefore, that is one.
We will yield to the more wise members of the chamber, Mr.
We will
President.
yield to the Senate
Yeah,
President.
but nevertheless, it's not being mentioned anyway. So we're just curious. I think they should know that they are celebrating their 81st
you, sir.
commemoration day.
We leave it to the majority leader to tell them, Mr. President.
So
I know, I have this
the
job of
majority leader
telling
should
them
also
this.
consider the number of
Yes, sir.
years of Bukidnon.
Yes, sir.
It could be 105.
105 na po.
Yes, commemoration, not anniversary.
Yes, sir. That's probably true.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. There are no other amendments,
What
Mr.
about the
President. Even the
title?
title, no amendments to the title.
No, amendments
Same.
is right there.
Yes, sir. The repeating clause.
So close the period.
Yes, we close the period of amendments, sir.
Any objection? There being none, period of amendments hereby closed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that we approve on second reading House Bill number 7044. I so move.
Any objection? Chair hears none. House Bill 044 is approved on second reading.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, move to suspend consideration of the same.
Consideration of the measure is suspended.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that we consider House Bill number 705. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? There being none, House Bill 705's consideration is in order.
This is an act declaring December 8th of every year a special non-working holiday in the municipality of Agoo, province of La Union. Mr. President, I move to recognize the sponsor for interpellations.
The sponsor is recognized. Isn't December 8th also the day of the Immaculate Conception, or what?
December 8th.
That's right.
That is
That's correct, Mr.
That's
President.
right. That's the Immaculate Conception.
So it's a holiday, a national holiday. It's a non-working holiday. National. So what is this?
Maybe the Muslims there work. Mr.
Now they have
President.
national and local holiday also, Mr. President.
So now it's now a national and local holiday. There are no other, well, unless the President, Senate President would like to ask more questions about it.
No. I was just curious.
Yeah, Mr. President, we move to, yes, maybe we suspend for 1 minute, Mr. President.
Session suspended.
Baka that's the date.
Why did you suspend?
Joel Villanueva Day.
Double holiday. Hindi daw.
Ready to resume, Mr. President.
Session is resumed.
Thank you, Mr. President. I believe there are no other members that would like to interpolate the measure. Move to, Mr. President. Can we recognize Senator Joel?
Senator Villanueva is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Majority Floor. Just to put on record, being the chair of the Committee on Labor and Human Resource Development, with this particular measure that we are deliberating upon, what would happen, for example, if an employer would give benefits or salaries for employees, considering that December 8th is already a national holiday? And with this particular measure, what would happen? Are they obliged to pay additional for another holiday? I just want to put on record, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for the question from our very hardworking Chairman of Labor, Mr. President. Just for the record, this bill being proposed will not result in any additional burden or obligation on the part of employers. I think that is the continuing concern of the chair and also the minority leader. So just to place that on record, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you, distinguished
So
sponsor.
there will be no double jeopardy for the employers. Double pay.
Wala po.
At least on record po yan. Thank you, Mr. President.
Right.
There being no other members, we close the period of interpellation, Mr. President.
Any objection? There being none, period of interpellations hereby closed.
Mr. President, I move that we'd like to open the period of amendments, Mr. President.
Period of amendments.
No amendments, Your Honor.
Mr. President, with
No
that, we
amendments.
close the period of amendments.
Any objection? There being none, the period of amendments is hereby closed.
Mr. President, we move to approve on second reading House Bill number 705.
Any objection? There being none, House Bill 705 is approved on second reading.
We move to suspend consideration of the same.
Consideration of the measure is suspended.
Mr. President, I move that we consider House Bill number 6160. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? There being none, House Bill 6160's consideration is in order.
This is an act declaring September 7 of every year non-working holiday in the city of Cavite, province of Cavite. May we recognize the Honorable Sani Angara to sponsor, Mr. President.
Senator Stanley Angara is recognized.
No interpellations, Mr. President.
Mr. President, we move to close the period of interpellation.
Any objection? There being none, period of interpellation is closed.
No amendments,
There
likewise.
being no amendments, we move to close as well the period of amendments, Mr. President.
Any objection? There being none, period of amendments is closed.
Mr. President, I move that we approve on second reading House Bill number 6160. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Chair hears none. House Bill 6160 is approved on second reading.
Mr. President, I move that we suspend consideration of the same.
Consideration of the measure is suspended.
Soldier.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that we consider House Bill number 1928. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? There being none, House Bill 1928's consideration is in order.
Thank you, Mr. President. The problem is, I think there's a clear conflict of interest here with one of our colleagues because this is the araw ng Villanueva. Is this the araw ng Joel Villanueva? Mr. President, this is an act declaring June 16 in every year, special non-working holiday in the municipality of Villanueva. Actually, this is my neighboring province of Misamis.
He is not the author, Mr. President.
Oh,
So
okay.
there is no conflict of interest.
I'd like to
Yes.
manifest my intention to interpolate, Mr. President, this particular measure.
Anyway, Mr. President,
I'll save you the trouble. May we know who is Villanueva?
My staff told me it's one of the earlier settlers of this town. He is of Mexican and American descent, apparently.
Not
Soldier,
relate-
he's a
not-
soldier.
Is he related to the Villanuevas of Bulacan?
That one I have to verify from some of the locals there. I have no idea, Mr. President.
Let's put on record, Mr. President, there's no conflict of interest, and what we are celebrating in the bill is the founding anniversary of the town, not of any individual.
that is correct, Mr.
And
President.
I also would like to ask the author if I could be his co-author, Mr. President, on this particular
Co-sponsor.
bill. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr.
Certainly, we confirm the statements of the gentleman from Bulacan, and we thank him for his kind co-authorship, Mr. President.
Mr.
All right.
President, we'd just like to ask the sponsor, Villanueva, I believe, is already a city. It's the city of Villanueva, if I'm not mistaken. Is it still a municipality? I know it's already a city of Villanueva. I'm not sure. Could we ask the sponsor staff?
It's still a municipality, I was told.
Ah, okay. I thought it was a city. With that, Mr. President, there are no members who want to...
Magagalit po ang League of Cities pag ginawa nating city.
Then meron kasi mga cities ang Misamis Oriental before they came up with stricter amendments on the cityhood measure. Tagoloan, I know, is a city. So it's not.
It's not,
okay.
Mr. President.
With that, Mr. President, no other member wishes to interpolate. We move to close the period of interpellation, Mr. President.
Any objection? There being none, period of interpellation is hereby closed.
Amendments.
No amendments, Your Honor.
Mr. President, there being no amendments, we close the period of amendments, Mr. President.
No objection, the period of amendments is closed.
Mr. President, I move to approve on second reading House Bill number 1928. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? There being none, House Bill 1928 is approved on second reading.
Yan po. May araw na ng Villanueva.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you,
Remember
Majority
June
Leader.
16. Joel Villanueva Day. Mr. President, that's just a joke. We move to suspend consideration House Bill number 1928.
Consideration of the measure is hereby suspended.
Tapos, wala na. Wala na. Well, thank you, Mr. President. Senator Lauren, you're good? Thank you, Mr. President. With that, we move to... I suspended it now. Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, we move to an equally important matter. We move to consider House Bill number 7449. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? There being none, House Bill 7449's consideration is in order.
This is on the supplemental budget of the DOH, Mr. President. We are still in the period of interpellation. May we recognize the sponsor, Senator Lauren Legarda, and I believe to co-sponsor the measure is Senator J.V. Ejercito. And to interpellate is our distinguished Minority Floor Leader, Senator Franklin Drilon.
Senator Lauren Legarda, the sponsor, is recognized, and the Minority Leader is recognized to interpellate. Continue interpellation.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the lady sponsor once more yield the floor to a brief intervention on the period of interpellation?
Yes, Mr. President.
Mr. President, for the record, this representation has discussed off the floor the matter of this House Bill 7449, which appropriates the sum of 1.1 billion as a supplemental budget to the Department of Health. Our examination of the budget of the Department of Health indicates that the present budget for 2018 of the Department of Health is 107 billion 299 million 569. Just to round it off, for easy understanding, the budget for this year of the DOH is 107.3 billion. Of this amount, Mr. President, only 39.3 billion, or 36.66%, was obligated as of June 30, 2018. And out of that obligated amount of 39.3 billion, only 27.2 billion was disbursed of a total budget of 107.3 billion. In other words, as of mid-year, only 25.37% of the budget was disbursed. But here we are approving a supplemental budget of 1.1 billion. Notwithstanding that, Mr. President, we have discussed this with the sponsor, and we are amenable to approve the supplemental budget, provided it is exclusively used for the medical assistance program for dengue patients, all dengue patients. And it is on this premise that the good sponsor have agreed. And if she has so agreed, as she will confirm on the record, then we can terminate our period, our interpellation, and just propose this as an amendment at the appropriate time. Mr.
Yes,
President.
Mr. President, as discussed yesterday, yes, we agree to the amendments of the Minority Leader.
If that is so, Mr. President, then we no longer have questions because all our questions are geared towards that, and therefore, on our part, we have no longer any question on this period of interpellation.
Thank you. We wish to thank the Minority Leader for that, and we look forward to the proposals during the period of amendments. In the meantime, Majority Leader?
Amendments? Mr. President,
Close the period of interpellation.
yes, sir. There will be no members to interpolate the measure. We move to close the period of interpellation, Mr. President.
Any objection? There being none, period of interpellations is closed.
Mr. President, I move to open the period of amendments, Mr. President.
Any objection? There being none, period of amendment is hereby open.
We'd like to recognize the distinguished Minority Floor Leader to propose his amendments.
The sponsor and the Minority Leader recognized for the period of amendment.
Mr. President, may we submit the following amendment for the consideration of the good sponsor. First amendment, on page 1, line 6. Page 1, line 6. Delete the phrase dengue vaccines and, Dengvaxia vaccinis. Delete the words Dengvaxia vaccinis and replace them with the words dengue patients.
Yes, accept, Mr. President.
Amendment is accepted. Any objection? There being none, adopted.
Still on page 1, lines 7 and 8, delete the phrase to fund assistance to the vaccinees.
Accepted, Mr. President.
Accepted. Any objection? Amendment is adopted.
Still on page 1, line 8, delete the phrase the following programs, projects, and activities, and the semicolon, and replace the same with the phrase the medical assistance program for dengue patients, either confined or outpatient. So move, Mr. President.
Mr. President, accepted.
Accepted. Any objection? The amendment is adopted.
Okay. On page 2, Mr. President, on page 2, delete lines 1 to line 15. I repeat,
What does the
Mr. President.
sponsor say? What does the sponsor say?
Yes, yes, Mr. President, we accept.
The sponsor has accepted.
Sponsor accepted. Any objection? Adopted.
Therefore, just for the record, Section 2 shall now read with the amendments approved. Section 2, assistance to dengue patients, the amount appropriated herein shall be used exclusively for the medical assistance program for dengue patients, either confined or outpatient, period.
We accept.
Yes.
Accepted. Accepted.
Yeah, it was previously accepted, sir. We were just reading the section as
Oh,
it
yes,
now
yes,
appears.
yes. Previously accepted.
On, still on page 2, line 21 and 22. Lines 21 and 22. Delete the phrase proper implementation of the foregoing medical activities and or project for the benefit of the Dengvaxia vaccinees, and replace it with the phrase availment of the foregoing medical assistance program.
Accept, Mr. President.
Accepted. Any objection? Adopted.
For the record, therefore, Section 3 will now read, use and release of funds, period. The amount appropriated shall be released by the Department of Budget and Management, DBM, to the Department of Health, DOH, in accordance with the budgeting, accounting, auditing laws, rules, and regulations, period. The DOH shall issue guidelines necessary for the availment of the foregoing medical assistance program. That's how it will read now, Mr. President. On page 5, Mr. President, is the next amendment. On page 5, line 4. This is in reference to
Page 5?
sorry, page 3.
Page 3.
Sorry, sir. Page 3, line 4.
Section 5.
Section 5, yes, sir. We propose to delete the phrase until fully spent, because this can last for 50 years, Mr. President. And we just, we replace it with the phrase until December 31, 2019.
We accept, Mr. President. December 31, 2019, yes.
Yes, 2019. December 31, 2019.
Adopted. Accepted. Adopted.
On page 3, just the one, just on the transparency provisions, we delete pages 8 and we delete lines 8 and 9. Delete the phrase Section 99 of the General Provisions under Republic Act 10694 or the FY 2018 GAA, and instead just insert the phrase under relevant laws and regulations.
Under relevant laws and regulations.
That's right, sir.
We accept, Mr. President.
Accepted. Any objection? Adopted.
That is the totality of the amendments, Mr. President, on our part.
We appreciate the intervention of the Minority Leader and the cooperation of the minority in the passage of this supplemental budget for the Department of Health. Thank
No
you.
other amendments, Majority Leader?
Yes, no other amendments, Mr. President.
I don't think that the Health Secretary who is in the hall today heard what I said, that we actually approved a supplemental budget of 1.6,
Yes.
no, 1.16 billion, a supplemental budget for the Department of Health.
We appreciate that the Secretary of Health is here as well.
Well, yes, in response, a brief response to the statement of the good sponsor, yes, while we are the minority leader and the opposition in our system, we will always look at the bill not from the point of view of partisan politics, but from the view of what is good for our country. And in this particular case, we certainly realize that dengue is a very expensive ailment, and the hospitalization cost for dengue patients is a huge burden for families. And here, Mr. President, the zero positive or unvaccinated Filipinos who are at risk of severe dengue is about anywhere from 70 to 90%. So it is critical that we be able to provide enough funds for the dengue patients who are from our poorer sector of our society. It is for that reason that we have cooperated with the Senate President, the Majority Leader, and the good sponsor in passing this measure. We hope, though, Mr. President, at least for the record, and we hope that we get a confirmation, we hope that our version is the one adopted in the bicameral conference committee report, because bicameral conference committee, because we will have very serious problems if the version of the House is reinstated in the final report.
Should make him part of the bicameral.
We have that commitment from the sponsor, who I assume will head the Senate contingent.
Bicameral conference
the bilateral conference committee,
yes.
That she will stand and defend the version of the Senate.
And then the Senate President will surely designate the minority leader as a member
Part of the members.
Yes,
of the BICAM.
But we are only a minority, Mr. President. We need the support of the majority. In this case, we supported the proposal of the majority group, and therefore we, in turn, we would like to request a commitment from the good sponsor, who will be the chair, that it is our version that will come out of the bicameral conference committee. Can we have that for the record, Mr. President?
The sponsor, if you're not ready, the Senate President will give the assurance instead.
No, in fact, I was going to suggest, since it's a certified measure, I've not seen the House version, but I would encourage the Majority Leader to ask the House to just adopt our version so it's done.
All right.
Yes. And
Because we will defend the House version, the Senate, our House version, because this has been a, not a compromise,
Well,
but an agreement among all of us. So I will
Well,
fight
well,
for this, of course.
Yes, but I don't see any problem at all, because we need to come up with a conference committee with them, because this is a House bill.
Okay.
This is
So
a
we
House
still-
bill that we amended.
So we still
So we
need
just
to
need
have the conferees.
Yeah, they would simply adopt what we amended, and
Okay.
it'll be done.
Mr. President, for the record, this representation believes it's an improvement of the House version.
Oh yes.
And we support the minority floor leader in this.
So we thank the minority leader.
just
and,
one more,
give-
just with the
yes.
indulgence of the Senate President. I see in the hall the Secretary of the Department of Health, who I assume is fully aware of the House version, and who I am told the House version came from the Executive Department. Through the good sponsor, can we get a commitment from the good Secretary of Health that he will support the Senate version that we are about to adopt?
Yes, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President.
For the
Thank you, Mr.
record, the Secretary of Health gave an affirmative sign. Now,
Thank you, Mr. President.
also, we wish to place on record the fact that with this additional budget or supplemental budget for dengue patients, we expect the Department of Health and all local government hospitals to never turn away a dengue patient.
Yes, Mr.
Yes,
President.
Mr. President.
All right.
And we thank the minority floor leader for his intervention in this, Mr. President. Not only of this, but several other measures I'd like to put on record, like the Bangsamoro, organic law, and many others that he had participated and helped achieve these measures, what they are now. Thank you, Mr. President. With that, Mr. President, there's no other members who would like to amend the measure. We move to close the period of amendment, Mr. President.
Any objection? Chair hears none. The period of amendment is hereby closed.
Mr. President, we'd like to move to approve on second reading House Bill number 7449. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? There being none. House Bill 7449, taking into consideration Senate Bills 1794, 1795, and 1769, is approved on second reading.
Mr. President? Yes, Mr. President, this is a certified measure. While we are waiting our members to come into the chamber, may we move for a quick 1-minute suspension.
Session is...
Okay, Mr. President, I recall my motion because I withdraw my motion as we have the numbers on the floor. I withdraw the motion, Mr. President.
The motion is withdrawn.
Mr. President, this being a certified measure, I'd like to ask the Secretary to read the certification coming from Malacanang.
The Secretary will read the certification.
29 May 2018, Senator Vicente C. Soto III, Senate President, the Philippine Senate, Pasay City. Mr. Senate President, pursuant to the provisions of Article 6, Section 26, Paragraph 2 of the 1987 Constitution, I hereby certify to the necessity of the immediate enactment of House Bill number 7449, entitled, An Act Appropriating the Sum of 1,161,710,000 pesos as supplemental appropriations for fiscal year 2018 and for other purposes in order to support and provide the necessary health and medical assistance to Dengvaxia vaccinees. Best regards. Very truly yours, signed, Rodrigo Roa Duterte.
Thank you, Mr. President. Being a certified measure, we can do away with the 3-day rule. And therefore, with the permission of the body, I move to vote on third reading House Bill number 7449. I so move, Mr. President.
The motion is to approve on third reading House Bill 7449. The Secretary will read the title of the measure and conduct a roll call vote.
House Bill 7449, an act appropriating the sum of 1,161,710,000 pesos as supplemental appropriations for fiscal year 2018 and for other purposes. Roll call vote. The Honorable Senators Angara, Aquino, Binay, De Lima, Drilon, Ejercito, Escudero, Gatchalian, Gordon, Onasan, Ontiveros, Lacson, Legarda, Pacquiao, Pangilinan, Pimentel, Poe, Recto, Trillanes, Villanueva, Villar, Zubiri, Senate President Soto III.
With 18 affirmative votes, no negative votes, no abstention, House Bill 7449 is approved on third reading.
Congratulations. It's in order for the sponsor, for all members of the Senate for this measure. Mr. President, we'd like to... Yes, Mr. President, we'd like to... May I ask for 1 minute suspension?
1 minute suspension.
Hindi pa nababasa eh. Hindi, nabasa na. Nabasa naman daw, sir. Ready to issue, Mr. President?
Session is resumed.
Mr. President, with the permission of the body, I move that we transfer from the calendar of ordinary business to the calendar of special orders. Committee report, Senate Bill number 1976, under Committee Report number 433. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is approved.
With the consent of our colleagues, I move that we consider Senate Bill number 1976.
Any objection? There being none, motion is approved.
Mr. President, would like to move to ask the Secretary to read the title of the measure.
The Secretary will read the title of the measure.
Senate Bill Number 1976, an act to further strengthen the Philippine Coconut Authority, PCA, repealing PD Number 1468, otherwise known as the Revised Coconut Industry Code of 1978, as amended.
Mr. President, to sponsor the measure, may we ask the chairman of the said committee, the Committee on Agriculture, we'd like to recognize Senator Cynthia Villar. So moved, Mr. President.
Senator Cynthia Villar is recognized to sponsor the measure.
Mr. President, esteemed colleagues, I stand here today to sponsor Senate Bill 1976, or an act to further strengthen the Philippine Coconut Authority, repealing Presidential Decree Number 1468, otherwise known as the Revised Coconut Industry Code of 1978, as amended. This is under Committee Report 433, prepared jointly by the Committee on Agriculture and Food and the Committee on Finance, with this representation as author thereof. This proposed law shall be known as the Strengthened Philippine Coconut Authority Law. It is the accompanying legislation to the recently ratified reconciled version of Senate Bill 1233 and House Bill 5745, or the Coconut Farmers and Industry Development Act. It is the bill that would safeguard the approximately 100 billion COCO levy funds composed of cash and assets, and ensure increased income for all coconut farmers, such as investment of the trust fund in Philippine government securities to ensure the safety of the fund and for assured returns. The said fund, as provided on the bill, will be managed by the reconstituted Philippine Coconut Authority. Thus, one of the most important provisions of this bill is the reconstitution of the Philippine Coconut Authority Governing Board as provided in Section 5. It reads, "The Governing Board of the Philippine Coconut Authority is hereby reconstituted to be composed of 11 members as follows: 4 representatives of the government, the Secretary of the Department of Agriculture as the chairperson, the Secretary of the Department of Finance as the vice chairperson, and as members, the Secretary of the Department of Budget and Management and the Administrator of the PCA, who will be appointed by the President. 1 representative from the coconut industry sector who is a Filipino citizen with considerable experience and reputable track record in promoting the industry's welfare and interests has been active in the industry for the past 3 years, and who shall be nominated by industry organization or association. The President shall appoint the sector representative from a list of 4 nominees submitted by the PCA Board. The sector representative may be reappointed once. Any appointment to fill the vacancy arising from death, permanent disability, removal, retirement, or resignation of the industry representative shall only be for the unexpired term. And letter C, 6 representatives from the coconut farmers sector, divided into 2 representatives each for the island groups of Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, provided that the 6 representatives from the coconut farmers sector must be Filipino citizen, registered with the Coconut Farmers Registry, have considerable experience and reputable track record in promoting coconut farmers' interests and welfare, and nominated by coconut farmers organization or cooperatives that are active in organizing and developing coconut farmers or in the community enterprise development for the past 3 years. They shall be appointed by the President from a short list of 4 nominees for each island grouping as admitted by the PCA Board. They shall hold a term of 3 years and may be reappointed once. In effect, there will be greater farmers' representation in the reconstituted Philippine Coconut Authority. This is in response to the clamor of coconut farmers for them to be more involved in the management of the Coco Levy Fund and in matters concerning their industry, just as they should really. Dapat naman talaga nakasali sila sa pamamahala ng pondong sa kanila naman talaga. At mas mabuti rin na maging malaking bahagi rin sila sa pagpaplano at pag-implementa ng mga programa na may kinalaman sa kanilang industriya. In line with the state policy to promote integrated development and growth of the coconut industry in all its aspects, we also need to ensure that the coconut farmers, numbering 3.5 million, become direct participants in and beneficiaries of such development and growth through increased farm income and productivity by modernizing and making the coconut industry competitive. The PCA shall retain its classification under Agriculture, Fisheries, and Food Sector as provided by the Governance Commission for GOCC or GCG. As such, the performance and relevance of the PCA shall also be evaluated by the GCG. To facilitate a smooth transition, the government representative in the reconstituted PCA board, that is the DA, DOF, DBM, together with the representative from the GCG, shall constitute the transition committee, and it shall convene immediately from the enactment of this law. The Transition Committee shall spearhead the following: designate a temporary representative from PCA, facilitate the immediate appointment of an administrator, update and publish the Farmers Registry by municipality, city, province, region, and nationwide. Approve the screening process and nomination for the farmers representative and for the industry sector representative, and submit the short list to the President. Approve the proposed organizational strengthening plan. Approve the corporate operating budget and strategic plan of PCA for the immediately succeeding year. The Transition Committee shall complete and finish its task within 120 days from the approval of this act, after which the committee shall be automatically dissolved. In terms of PCA power and function on top of the existing one as provided previously, the following were also added: fertilize and replace senile coconut trees as needed, promote the development of new coconut products and byproducts and all the derivatives of coconut oil locally and internationally. Keep and publish on the PCA website an annual update of a coconut farmers registry. In coordination with other government agencies, provide extension services to coconut farmers for better farming techniques, modern technologies, and mechanization. Promote integrated farming system in coconut areas by introducing intercropping such as cacao, coffee, high-value crops, and livestock raising. Promote the empowerment of coconut farmers as group, association, and cooperatives to facilitate the strengthening of network, economies of scale, and farm support mechanisms such as shared facilities and infrastructure program. Promote the establishment of cocoa hubs all over the country for farmer organization equipped with machine and facilities for use by all coconut farmers for the production of high-value crops like virgin coconut oil, coconut waters, cocoa sugar, and cocoa coir, among others. Establish a credit program through Land Bank and Development Bank of the Philippines for the coconut farmers. Establish a system of providing scholarship and health benefits to farmers and their families. Promote the disposition or utilization of trust fund or any portion thereof in accordance with the Coconut Farmers and Industry Development Plan. And of course, the PCA shall formulate a coconut industry roadmap which shall be the basis of its performance and evaluation. The PCA shall submit to both houses of Congress its annual accomplishment report and publish the same annually in the PCA website. A Congressional Oversight Committee to be called Coconut Farmers and Industry Fund Oversight Committee, composed of 5 members each from the House of Representatives and the Senate, shall exercise oversight and shall watch over the PCA in the implementation of this act. So with that, Mr. Chairman, from day one, since I chaired the Senate Committee of Agriculture and Food, I have repeatedly emphasized that among the farmer groups and among the agricultural industries, coconut farmers and the coconut industry respectively need the most urgent and comprehensive support and assistance. Ang ating mga coconut farmers ay pinakamahirap sa lahat ng mga magsasaka. In fact, based on report by NAPSI, among rural poor, coconut farmers have the highest poverty incidence at 60%. Coconut farmers' per capita income is 41 pesos a day, and 1.8 million of the 3 million CCT beneficiaries are from the coconut-producing towns. It takes around 6,300 pesos a month to feed a family of 5 in our country. This is just for food. It does not include provision for education, health, and other needs of a family. Ang isang coconut farmers earns only 1,500 a month. So it's ironical that a person planting the crop which are feeding our country ay walang sapat na kakayahan or income to feed his own family. Agri-crop farmers comprise 8 million of the country's population, 3.5 million of whom are rice farmers and 3.5 million are coconut farmers. Together, they represent 90% of the farmers in the country. So if we can solve poverty among them, then we would have solved the bulk of poverty in the entire country. It is about time also that we do something about their productivity, because the Philippines has the lowest yield in coconut production among an association of ASEAN nations, with only 4.4 metric tons as compared to 9.6 metric tons of Vietnam, 5 metric tons of Thailand, and 6.5 metric tons of Indonesia. The coconut industry has seen a continuous decline in farm productivity over the years, with an average productivity of 45 nuts per year from the ideal 150 nuts per year per tree. This situation is attributed to poor genetics of the Philippine coconut tree, a large part of which are senile and most are not intercrop. Such decline is also due to nutrition deficient trees, inadequate infrastructure, and minimal research and development, all of which form part of the mandated PCI functions. So, hangad nating lahat na sa mga susunod na taon ay mawala na sa listahan ng mga grupo ng tao o sektor na may pinakamataas na poverty incidence ang mga coconut farmers. Ilang dekada na silang napako sa sitwasyon na iyon, tapusin na natin ang kanilang kahirapan. With that, Mr. President, I seek the urgent approval of Senate Bill 1976 under Committee Report number 433. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, to allow our colleagues to study the measure further, may we move to suspend consideration of Senate Bill number 1976. I so move.
Any objection? There being none, Committee Report 43 is hereby suspended.
Mr. President, we'd like to recognize in the gallery, we have with us my classmate in the 10th, 11th, and 11th, 12th, and 13th Congress, no other than Congresswoman Etta Rosales, former Congresswoman Etta Rosales, former Chairman of the Commission on Human Rights. And we have also with us Councilor Fernand Imperial of the City of Legazpi and Board Member Pem Imperial of the Province of Albay.
Welcome them to the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. We'd also like to manifest for the record, this is the subcommittee we created on local government. And we designated the chair for that subcommittee, Senator Panfilo Lacson. He would like to place on record that his members for the subcommittee is Senator Gregory Honasan, Senator Joel Villanueva, and I believe with the concurrence of the with the concurrence of the minority, we also include Senator Risa Ontiveros and Senator Antonio Trillanes. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? There being none, the manifestation is on record.
Mr. President, may we ask for a 10-minute coffee break, suspension of 10 minutes, Mr. President.
Session is suspended for 10 Senate minutes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ready to resume, Mr. President.
Session resumed.
Mr. President, I move to resume consideration of Senate Bill number 1896. I so move.
Any objection? Hearing none.
This is the Universal Health Care Bill. And to continue is to sponsor the measure, Senator Joseph Victor Ejercito, and to interpolate is our distinguished Senate President, Vicente Soto III.
Senator J.V. Ejercito and the Senate President are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the distinguished sponsor allow a few more questions just to wrap up my interpellations on the subject 1896, Mr. President?
Willingly, Mr. President. It will be an honor coming from the Senate President. Any suggestion also will be well taken.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to lay out some issues that we've discussed earlier and to clarify, the distinguished sponsor informed us during my last interpellation that the DOH estimates full implementation of the Universal Healthcare Program to cover all Filipinos will require approximately 305 billion, and that will include improvement of health hospital facilities at 229 billion through the DOH under a 4-year plan. That's how I understood it. So it could be extended up to 10 years or something to that effect. Now, assuming that it would be a 10-year plan, how much does the DOH need every year for the implementation of the Universal Healthcare Program?
Yes, Mr. President. If we stretch it to 10 years, it will now DOH would now need about 257 billion instead of the 305 billion for the 4 years. So it will
no, for every year. So if it's a 4-year plan, it's 257.
If it's a 4-year plan, it will be. If it's a 4-year plan, it's 275 billion, Mr. President, for the first year, and then 295 billion, 692 million for the second year, and then 318 billion and 341 billion for the fourth year, Mr. President. So for 10 years, it will be 257 billion, and then 271, 286, 302, 319, and so on, Mr. President. On the 10th year, it will reach about 411 billion, Mr. President.
Billion. Is this what you are mentioning, the one on the screen?
Yes, Mr. President, this is the 10-year reform phase in billions of pesos. No, to what you can see there is the premium, the capitation, the capex, no, that the things that we'd use for the improvement of barangay health station, hospital bed to population ratio improvement, and RHUs. So, and also the HRH, or called the health human resource for health, the staffing for all public facilities. And last but not the least is the governance and regulation, the expanded regulation of HRH and others. So that will be there. This is based on this for 10 years. So you can see, Mr. President, it's 257 billion, and then it gradually increases, no, year to year until the year 10. Probably you can show the other. This is the from year 6 to year 10. So you'll have an idea, Mr. President.
Parang konti ang difference kung 4-year plan at saka yung 10-year plan. Ba't ba parang nalilito po ako sa ano? So sa first year,
yun sa hospital bed. Yun lang yung yes, Mr. President. The main difference is the capital expense, no? Meaning to address the hospital bed to population ratio. And like,
do I take it ganito? Kung 1 year, 299. Total with the LGU. Ano? Eh, yun ang nakasulat dito. Yun ang, kung 2-year plan, 320. Kaya po ba?
Wait lang. Wait, Mr. President, I will just check the figures and there's a discrepancy.
I'm looking at the figures on the screen, Mr. President, so please...
Yes, Mr. President, for this is for 4-year plan, no? This is for 4 years. So it's 290 billion, 290.8 billion, and then 320. We rounded it off, no? We have then 342.6, and then 365 billion. This is a 4-year reform phase. So you're correct, Mr. President. It's not much of a difference compared to the 10 years, which is 257, 257, then 271, and so on, Mr. President. So the difference is the capex only, Mr. President.
Sa capex.
And
all right.
And the corresponding staffing, Mr. President. The HRH, that's the staffing, the human resource for health.
So, all right, this will bring me to the question of, is the DOH ready to absorb this amount of money on top of their yearly budget and completely obligate and utilize the same for the UHC program, the Universal Healthcare Program? And the yearly budget.
Yes, Mr. President, just to give you 70 billion will come from the DOH, no, to fund the Universal Healthcare Program, and also another 70 billion from PhilHealth. So these are this will be taken from existing appropriations at this time. So that's about 140 billion.
No, but my question is the DOH ready to absorb this? Because as earlier pointed out by the minority leader, the budget of the DOH is 107 billion. Ang obligated after 6 months, 39. O, 39 billion. 39 billion.
Yes, Mr. President.
Pinag-usapan natin dito.
Yes, Mr. President, if you would look at the first two columns, the premium and capitation, those will go to PhilHealth, no? That will fund the beneficiaries, no? So that will, and then the capex will go to the LGUs, so that they can improve the barangay health stations and rural health units and their other health facilities, and the HRH, no, will go to LGUs as well. The last item will be the only one that will be for DOH, no, the PSNMOE, the Personal Services and DOH, MOE.
So, ibig sabihin, PhilHealth ang pinaka, ano doon? Yeah. Yes, all right. So, it's said in your bill under Section 9, PhilHealth shall pool and manage funds for individual-based services. And in relation to the GOCC Governance Act of 2011, which is RA 10149, it mandates the PhilHealth Board to be directly accountable to monies and properties of the GOCC as fiduciaries of the state. Now, considering that PhilHealth will manage approximately 105 billion from the OSCO, PPCSO, and PAGCOR, and medical assistance programs of DOH for this universal health care, no? May I know if we are addressing, through this measure, to provide for a system of check and balance to ensure PhilHealth's sustainable fund management and strict fund utilization guidelines, which will make the GOCC accountable for its members and funding source agencies?
Currently, Mr. President, there's a congressional oversight over PhilHealth, and of course, and likewise, they're still subject to COA audit from time to time, but I think it's the congressional oversight.
So there is no direct provision that we have incorporated here. I am looking for one. I was hoping, because PhilHealth has been recently in hot water due to the anomalies in the agency, including the recent COA report that PhilHealth is 4.75 billion net loss in 2017.
Yes,
our universal health care package might suffer the fate, the same fate.
Well, you are correct, Mr. President. Likewise, we are also concerned of PhilHealth's performance. So that's why we had 2 hearings, and we're hoping that we can plug up the holes, especially the fraudulent claims and among others, that has happened in the PhilHealth in the past 2 years. But more than that, Mr. President, we are hoping that the President will be able to appoint a financial expert or manager already, because I think we are also thinking of including in the PhilHealth, in this bill, that the head of the PhilHealth will be someone with experience, a financial expert, and we can introduce also provisions, sunset for every 3 years, or oversight committee. So this will be the safeguard, that we can introduce provisions or sunset review every 3 years, or oversight committee for the implementation of the universal healthcare program. So I hope this would be to make sure that the performance of PhilHealth will always be monitored, Mr. President.
So I've heard this before. The proposal is to have a manager, a business manager for PhilHealth, and not a doctor.
Yes, Mr. President, not to undermine the capability of doctors and lawyers which have been heading the PhilHealth for the past in the recent years, but PhilHealth is fund management, really, Mr. President. So we're hoping that the OP or the President will be able to scout a financial expert with actuarial experience, so that the PhilHealth's funds will be in good standing again, so that hopefully they can find someone who's an expert in both health financing, but more of a fund manager, Mr. President.
Yes, correct. I agree. Now, going to the healthcare workers, are the country's current health care workers, the doctors, nurses, barangay health workers, are they ready for the implementation of the universal health care program? Are they properly trained already, or are you training?
Yes, Mr. President. Admittedly, during the first year, probably first 2 years, we cannot really expect that the full implementation of the universal health care. It will be a 10-year program, and the trainings and the capability building, the capacity building of our health workers will be part of that
So it's going to be part of the program.
Yes, it will be part of the program.
Are they not starting the trainings now?
Well, we will be making use first, Mr. President, of the current health professionals. No? So, but again, we expect that during the first year, it will not everybody would really avail of the Universal Healthcare Program packages. So as we go along, we're hoping that the capacity building and the improvement of our health workers will be part of this program, Mr.
Okay,
President.
now that you mention it, what do you mean by essential health benefit package? Ano ba itong package na to? It has been mentioned in the bill, and you've mentioned it now, but I do not find any definition. The definition is not provided, so don't you think well, what is it first? And then perhaps we can include it in the law.
We just wait for the this much of these are really technical terms, Mr. President. So I ask for your indulgence. Here is the definition, Mr. President. The essential health benefit package pertains to services for all health needs of all Filipinos, from primary to tertiary care. Determination of what is essential or not is not by medical condition. Sample, all medical conditions are deemed essential. However, only the most appropriate, based on guidelines and HTA, shall be deemed essential. This means that whatever the condition, there will be essential services that will be financed by DOH or PhilHealth. The goal is to be as comprehensive. For example, breast cancers are covered, but only the most clinically effective and cost-effective treatment regimen will be fully covered. Others are covered but subject to co-payments, Mr. President.
Parang hindi definition eh, but anyway, sige, if you don't mind, I will propose an amendment to define, very specifically what essential health benefit package is,
Yes, by all means, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Any suggestions or interjections to improve the bill will be most welcome.
Would you agree that a complete range of primary care services, such as consultation, diagnostics, and dispensing of medicines, be also included, part of the definition of the essential health benefit package?
Yes, Mr. President. That's one essential component of this bill, that the preventive part is all. We will give emphasis this time, not only curative. So that will be included, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. We will prepare the proposed amendment. Now, when this bill becomes a law and implemented, when do you expect? When can we expect that every Filipino will have a primary care provider? Will there be areas that will be prioritized, or a few years implementation of the program? O general, sabay-sabay? Mabigat yun, ano?
Mr. President, we project a 10-year program for its full implementation, but immediately we can already tap the private institutions as well with the capitation, through the capitation, that we can already make use of the either private hospitals and other facilities. But for us to be able to implement that, having the desired social service delivery network by having barangay health stations, regional health units in most local government units, and administering primary care. So it's a 10-year program, Mr. President.
Yes, okay. No, but this is not part of the law. I don't think it should be, but perhaps in implementation, no, we suggest that you prioritize the geographically isolated and disadvantaged areas, ano? Anyway, as I said, it's part of the that will be on part of the executive action, ano?
Yes, thank you for that suggestion, Mr. President. In fact, those GIDA areas that we call, no, in the far-flung areas, that we really have to prioritize the primary care, no, by having RHUs or BHS, because we cannot rely on the private institutions because it will not be viable. So we can rely on the private institutions in the probably in the urbanized areas and first and second class municipalities. But you are correct, Mr. President, in the geographically the GIDA areas, no, priority will be given for the fourth to fifth and sixth class municipalities, so that the government should prioritize the primary care health facilities in these areas, Mr. President, because we assume that the urban centers, the cities, and the first and second class, even third class municipalities can be already serviced, no, by the present health units and likewise the private institutions in those areas.
Okay, all right. Now, just one final point, Mr. President. In the bill, you have the HTA defined as, well, it's the Health Technology Assessment, HTA, defined in the bill as, quote, the systematic evaluation of properties, effects, and/or impacts of health technology. It is a multidisciplinary process to evaluate the social, economic, organizational, and ethical issues of a health intervention or health technology. Now, based on this definition, the role of the panel which will conduct the assessment is crucial for the effective implementation of the program, or the Universal Healthcare Program. So, the independence from the Department of Health as lead agency for the implementation, I think, is very important. So why does your bill designate the HTA as a unit within the DOH? Would it not compromise the independence of the HTA if that is their mandate?
You're correct, Mr. President. I get your point, Mr. President, that just like for the HTA to be more effective in assessing technologies, property, and other things, among others, technology, medicine, and others, it will be more. I think it will be more effective. As you say, that it will not be compromised if it will be independent or autonomous from the DOH. Just like, Mr. President, down at the FDA, the Food and Drugs
Food and Drug Administration.
Food and Drugs Administration is still attached with the DOH. So, for us to be able to prevent fiascos, just like the Vaxia, the FDA naturally being under the DOH and the Director General being under the Secretary makes it already naturally compromised. So, Mr. President, I see your point, Mr. President, that the HTA would be better, that it would be independent from the DOH itself, Mr. President.
All right. Now, so who are the multi-expert panel that will be members of the HTA? Ano ba ang mga qualifications po niyan na ilalagay natin dyan? Yung point nito yung pag-integrate ang local. Integrate na tayo.
Ilan ba? So wala pa. Okay. Mr. President, it's not yet specific, but as long as we have 4 specialists that should be part of the HTA. One is a clinical specialist, an epidemiologist, ethicist, and a social scientist. So these are the 4 requirements, minimum requirements that would comprise the HTA, Mr. President.
All right. Well, I hope these qualifications are well noted by the DOH, no? Okay, ngayon. I said that was the one final point, but let me just place on record that during the last interpellations that I had with you, with the distinguished sponsor, Mr. President, is that I was a little worried about the integration because the local government officials might not have been consulted and the governors might have their hands full in this integration. It is it's like removing the supposed to be the local autonomy that we devolved, you know, to the locals. Now, we asked the DOH then, and it was the sponsor was informed that they agreed, you know, the ULAP. I have received a disclaimer from the ULAP that they did not agree to the integration to the provincial level of the health program. So I hope we can address that and the DOH addresses that particular issue because this might be difficult for the governors. Anyway, I placed that on record, and Senator Lacson wishes to interject, Mr. President.
Senator Lacson.
Yes, noted, Mr. President. And right now we are currently meeting with some members of some representatives from ULAP and League of the Provinces of the Philippines. So we assure that they will be informed about this, no? So that before its passage, we will make sure that the stakeholders are part of this, Mr. President.
Mr. President, with the permission of the Senate President and the sponsor of the measure, this is related because this pertains to appropriations, Chapter 8. It says here that total sin tax collections as provided for in Republic Act 10351 of the sin tax law will now be earmarked for the to finance the universal healthcare as proposed in the measure, Mr. President. Is that correct? My question is, what will happen now to the two other sectors, the farmer support and the attainment of MDG? Definitely, they will suffer.
Yes, Mr. President. That came from the bill of Senator Recto, proposing that the whole sin tax revenue would be allotted, no? Or earmarked for health, Mr. President.
Can we disaggregate the total cost to be subsidized by these two other sectors, Mr. President? How much will the farmer support suffer, and how much will be deducted from for the attainment of MDG, Millennium Development Goals? So we can have a clear picture of how much will these two sectors will lose under this measure, Mr. President.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. But unfortunately, we do not have the data now. But we will consult with the DOF immediately. Anyway, the interpellation of this particular measure is still continuing. So probably we'll get back to you next, probably by Monday or Tuesday, next week as to the data regarding your query regarding the effect on the
Mr.
farmers.
President, because if it is substantial, then that will be distorted already, the total cost requirements. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. Then we'll get the data. We'll get back to you again next week, Mr. President.
Anyway, I thank the distinguished gentleman for answering our questions. We will look forward to the period of amendments, Mr. President, to be able to address some of the issues that we have raised. So thank you to our distinguished sponsor, Mr. President.
Thank you to the Senate
Thank you,
President
Mr.
and
President.
Senator Lacson.
Thank you, Mr.
Majority Leader.
Mr. President, with the understanding that our colleagues can ask questions during the period of amendments for clarification, we have an understanding as well to close the period of interpellation, Mr. President, on interpellation on Senate Bill number 1896. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to suspend consideration of Senate Bill number 1896.
Any objection? Hearing none.
Thank you. May I ask for 1 minute suspension?
Session suspended.
We can go home, the boss? Adjourn ko na? Ready to resume, Mr. President?
Session resumed.
With a lot of bills approved today, including third reading measure on the supplemental budget, I think we can have a pat ourselves in the back. So with that, Mr. President, I move that we adjourn session until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Monday, September 10, 2018.
Any
I so move,
objection?
Mr. President.
Any objection?
Have a good weekend, everyone.
There being none, the session is adjourned until 3 o'clock in the afternoon of Monday, 10 September 2018.